Hi, my name is Jennifer Byram. I'm with the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma Historic Preservation Department, where I'm a research assistant. Today I'll be talking about corresponding with international institutions to create a database of tribal items in other countries or in other collections as well, domestically as well. So some of the things that we have found helpful in our process with contacting institutions is first to know yourself and the scope of your project, and then next to know who you're contacting and who that entity is. So the first thing that you need to do to get started is create materials that you can use to represent yourself when contacting the institution. To do that, you need to know the scope of your project. So are you looking for all things that are modern? Are you looking for traditional arts that specifically represent skills that aren't maybe being used today? That's what we ended up using. And then creating some sort of document like an area of interest document that has information like your counties, your regions where you lived or were moved from, homelands, as well as current areas, as well as object types you're looking for, archival documents, old names for your tribe that you're looking for. They may have been spelled a number of different ways throughout the years by different peoples. And then also drafting a letter. So what does your project really entail? And creating this institution to institution sort of dialogue. I find sometimes that helps when you're contacting a museum that's in a very different location and separated by place as well as culture or language, all of those things. And then the other side is getting to know who you're trying to contact. So doing the research, there's lots of great databases internationally that have already been made by other research projects or institutions. So finding those databases and really mining those for information that you're looking for about your tribe, finding those museums through that and learning to navigate those websites of those museums in other countries, getting a little bit of an idea of what the atmosphere is in that country around things like repatriation, but also just tribal relationships and where to start from there and how to start building that relationship. So if you can correspond with them in their native language, that's a really big plus because you may not ever get a response if you just contact them in English. But it is also good to use some of your tribal language. So I always make sure to say Yakoki, thank you, in Choctaw. And some of those museums have taken that on. So really building an institution to institution relationship. And another thing we like to do, we send out a letter that we have the project defined in it. And we've been looking for Choctaw items elsewhere just to bring back that knowledge to our community, and we explain what our project is. So when we send that off, we also offer to explain a little bit about the pieces that we find that then can be better interpreted within that museum context and better curated from their standpoint. So trying to offer things as well to the museum just for the sake of both institutional well-being and, again, creating that reciprocity with those institutions. I believe that's most of the big key points. There's always those small things that come up when you're dealing with other institutions, both in the U.S. or in your domestic area, as well as abroad. So some countries may have certain months that everyone takes vacation. So being patient and being persistent, keep knocking on those doors because anything could be happening on the other end. When in doubt, or when possible rather, do go to the institution in person because there's nothing that can quite replace being there in person and creating that relationship in that way. And finally, you want to be able to make these things accessible in your community. So finding ways to bring that back into maybe traditional arts classes or sharing that online if it's possible, if it's respectful, and putting that back out, working with the institution to get copyright, you know, agreements so that you can maybe publish it in your tribal newspaper or share it otherwise. Those are all really great ways to bring that knowledge back to the community and preserve some of that traditional information. So you're welcome to contact us. Our website is ChoctawNationCulture.com, where we have an older version of our traditional arts database, which has been very useful to our artisans and our community. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to the ATALM conference for allowing us to share this.